What's up? What it do, baby? Welcome to episode 21. I think the last episode, Hoyt, by the way, it said 19 on the episode thing, but it's actually last week was episode 20. This week is episode 21. We have Vinny, my boy from Supra itself, our VP of Ecosystem. What's up, Vinny?
Sup, Move. Sup, guys? Glad to be here.
Good to have you, man. It's great to have you. We apologize for being late, everyone. We are 5 minutes late. We just had some background issues and what have you with
James had to set up his AI background.
I decided to go with my regular background, so there are a couple of technical difficulties, but we are here now. So sup, everyone. We have Vinny Chen with us. Vinny, where are you right now? You in San Fran?
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco right now.
Nice, man.
8 a.m. Early bird.
What is the time?
8 a.m.
It's 8:06. Okay.
All right. Well, that's not too bad.
It's not bad, and I actually prefer being up early, and actually it works out really well. I have a lot more energy than usual.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I would probably prefer it to be morning for me as well. As you can, by the end of this show, it's going to be dark for me. So it is what it is. Right. So let's run through a couple of things, guys. Firstly, we will talk about tech news. What are the big tech news stories of the week? The big one is that Apple's genius product designer, all these cool little gadgets that Apple designed, Johnny Ives, the man behind the iPhone, the iPad, etc., he has been acqui-hired, is what they're calling it, by OpenAI. $6.5 billion all-stock deal. Johnny Ives' company, I.O., has been acquired by OpenAI. The whole goal is to develop innovative AI-powered consumer devices. So, obviously, Ive is famous for that. He's going to lead creative and design efforts at OpenAI, potentially creating a new generation of hardware that goes beyond what we all use every day, like your smartphones, your laptops, etc. So clearly signaling a move from OpenAI to strategically push to compete directly with the big giants like Apple. So will Ives' design expertise with AI technology cause a revolution in tech hardware? We will have to see. Initial products expected to be unveiled in 2026. Chase, are you going to be getting an OpenAI hardware device? Because obviously it's going to come to the States before it comes to South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly just want to be like a walking portal of myself at one point, that AI just runs everything that I do throughout all day, every day. And I just collect checks. I work out via AI. This is exactly the route I'm trying to go in life and in general. And Vinny, I don't know if you've ever been to the set before. So at the beginning of each show, we usually go through some industry news. We talk about some stories that are, I guess, relevant to the tech space and blockchain space as a whole. So if you do have any, things you want to chime in here, feel free. But speaking of Johnny Ive, I've also got something to discuss about Apple. Fortnite is back on the US App Store. The reason I knew this before we discussed that is because my son, I guess, heard about this at school and asked if we could download Fortnite on my iPhone, and the answer is absolutely no. So if you don't know, Fortnite has returned to the US Apple App Store after a nearly 5-year hiatus, following a legal battle sparked by Epic Games' introduction of an in-app payment system that violated Apple's rules. Essentially what was happening, all these kids were buying all these skins using their parents' Apple IDs, and parents were realizing that they were getting bills of $1,000+ at the end of the month. Can you blame them? No, you can't, because I would have done the same thing as a
father. I can blame them.
As a father, I can too. But as a young lad, as a Grom, dude, I would have been all over that. But yeah, so a court ruling in Epic Games versus Apple forced Apple to allow purchases outside of apps without fees, enabling Fortnite's reinstatement in the iOS devices in the US. It's a significant victory for Epic Games, restoring access to a massive iPhone user base and reigniting interest among gamers. And I don't even know if we want to say reigniting interest among gamers, because I think Fortnite is still probably amongst the top 3 games in the world. But what we do have to think about is how much more access that people have to Fortnite again. Apple has to be one of the most, if not the most popular phone in the country for America for sure. I don't know about worldwide. I think probably it's an Android device. But yeah, what do you think about Apple's kind of monopolistic control over the app market, James? Do you think this is fair coming from a company this big?
You know, like I'm anti-monopolistic. Like, I mean, what Apple did was cool. You know, this, I think it's like 30% they take,
Yep.
and then a company like Epic Games figures out a way to circumvent that, and they just shut the whole thing down. I'm not a fan of that. That's big tech bullying. You know, from, you know, a guy like Tim Cook, who, you know, puts out this aura of, I'm here to help the world and make the world better. That's actually, you're just being a big bully, dude. So I'm not a fan. I can say that my son got an iPhone for Christmas, not a new one, by the way. I'm not rich and wealthy. It's an iPhone 12. He got secondhand for Christmas, and he has not played Fortnite for a while now, which is interesting, on his Xbox. But now that it's available on his App Store, I think there's a good chance he'll be back. So I think that's a little free bit of info for you.
It's easier accessibility.
Right, let's move on. What's that?
It's just easier accessibility for
yeah,
children.
Exactly. I mean, he's always on his iPhone, but the reality is, since he's had his iPhone, he's been on his Xbox a lot less. So yeah. You know, it's a pure utility thing. Like, he's on his iPhone all the time now. The games are available there, so he'll probably go back to Fortnite. He loves Fortnite, so it is interesting. I think it's a big win for Epic Games, to be honest. Right. Ribbit Wallet has released their white paper. Let's move on to ecosystem news right now. So what's happening from tech news? We move into our own ecosystem, and big one is that Ribbit Wallet is coming to the Supra ecosystem. They are a multi-chain wallet and payments app, and they have a vision for an all-in-one Web3 financial hub on Supra, bridging digital assets with real-world utility. They say they're building more than a wallet. They're building the future of your finances. You can find a link to their white paper on their X profile. Real simple, Ribbit Wallet, RIBBIT Wallet. Go check them out, and they will be releasing the wallet very soon. And the link to the white paper is right there on their X profile.
Ribbit. I don't even know if I've looked into them myself, so this is actually news for me. Also, I don't know if y'all can hear there's thunder and lightning outside. It's heavily raining, so if I do just disappear, it's because my power has gone off. But hopefully we stay in. Vinny, if I disappear and James is gone, you just got to pick up and run the show. So the next thing we did want to talk about is Pixudi announced leaderboard contest. Pixudi have revealed on their X profile that they will be introducing a leaderboard contest where players can climb ranks, win bonus prizes. They've said that the more details will be revealed on the 1st of June. Excuse me. Also, we will have a community game night featuring Pixudi. It'll probably happen within the next couple of weeks. The reason being, we moved it back a little bit. We do have the SkinFi CS2 tournament this Friday. We have made some posts about those on our socials. Please go check out SkinFi to see about that as well. But yeah, so we're super excited about Pixudi and everything that they're building. They did release a large update, I want to say on the 7th of this month. I've only been able to play it once, so I did get kicked out of the game relatively early. Something came up, but keep your eyes out. We do have a community tournament coming soon. So about Pixudi, James, you were not involved in the last tournament that we played. Neither were you, Vinny. So with the community tournament, we did say that team members can join too. Which one of y'all are playing Pixudi with us?
I'm down, bro. I'm there. The last one,
it's
I think,
fun, dude. It legitimately is fun. Like, we went into it being very open-minded. Nobody had explained it, and how I explained it, it's like Web3 Mario Party. And if you're around my age, you've played Mario Party growing up. Vinny, did you play Mario Party growing up?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same shit. Very similar game. It's just a different kind of theme. Very fun. We had a great time doing it. But the coolest thing about Pixudi is that your character gets to keep its items that you win throughout the game. Whereas to Mario Party, you start over completely. Like, you just start over from the base character again. You don't take anything but pride after this win. But with Pixudi, let's say you win a piece of armor, you win a helmet, you win a potion, you can take that into your next realm, you can take that into your next party, and it shows that you've been around for a long time. So it's a cool concept of like an MMORPG meshed with a classic board game feel. So anyways, I'll keep everybody posted on the community game night. And
how much Supra do I need to participate?
Zero, nada, finito,
Nada?
nada, nothing. Yeah,
Not
yeah,
even
nothing.
gas?
Not
Not even
gas.
gas?
All you need is a Starkey wallet, and that is it.
That's it. So no gas required at all. Well, I
No
mean,
gas
it's all
required.
good. My Starkey wallet has a little bit of Supra in, so it's all good either way. In fact, speaking of which, you owe me some Supra. By the
No.
way,
Do not.
you do. I sent you a whole bunch of Supra. I linked it to you for some NFT story you were up to, and
Well, wait a
I never
minute.
got that back.
This is
I never got that
collusion.
back.
This is absolutely collusion, and y'all are seeing it live on the SUP, and I want y'all to be a witness to this.
Next week, I will screenshot the messages and the transactions. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Simple as.
All right. We're going to move on from this because Chase is just going to deny everything. Proof. Notice my focus on the word proof, Chase. Proof of efficient liquidity is almost here. You guys would have heard about it. We've spoken a lot about it. It's known as PoEL. There are some discussions internally. I'm just going to give you a little bit of alpha. I'm not sure if it's alpha or beta, but a little bit of inside info that there are some discussions as to whether we brand this differently. But for now, it is known as PoEL, Proof of Efficient Liquidity. And just a quick rundown, innovative protocol designed to optimize capital efficiency in proof-of-stake systems. Of course, Supra always bringing new protocols, new designs, new engineering tech, which can be leveraged by other L1s, to be honest. And that's what we do. We just break new ground, and people are like, yo, we should be doing that too. So PoEL allows liquidity providers to use the same capital for both staking to secure the network and providing liquidity to native DeFi pools. You can earn dual rewards from staking and automated market maker fees. And basically by incentivizing stable and desirable assets through adjustable rewards, interest rates, and collateralization, PoEL enhances network security, it attracts diverse digital assets, and it bootstraps sustainable liquidity, which creates a self-reinforcing cycle of capital growth and stability. So we've spoken a lot about it. There have been papers published. We have written about it, but it's almost here. The engineering is finally being wrapped up. It's almost about to be deployed. And Vinny, I'm really excited just to hear from you, man. What kind of advantage does PoEL give to dApp builders in our ecosystem?
Yeah, so essentially it's going to be what we think will be a very effective liquidity bootstrapping mechanism that is quite different from what a lot of other foundations are doing. So as you touched upon, PoEL is essentially multi-asset liquid staking on Supra. Users, liquidity providers can deposit assets from other chains into these PoEL vaults, which stakes and earns Supra block rewards from our validators. At the same time, you can stay liquid. So you have a mirrored, we call I asset, that's just the name of the token standard, is minted on Supra network, which then can be used in DeFi protocols such as lending, supplying as collateral, LPing indexes, and so on and so forth. So it's different from other liquidity bootstrapping approaches because it allows people to stake and bootstrap economic security on the network and thus earn block rewards, but also reusing that liquidity in the DeFi ecosystem. And that's very powerful because for the dApps, Supra is basically incentivizing liquidity providers before they even enter the ecosystem. And that's how we actually will bring more liquidity. So yeah, everyone just kind of has a head start in the ecosystem.
Is it something that you sort of lead with when introducing yourself to dApp builders at events and networking sort of places and events that you go to?
Yeah. So as far as DeFi, I would say it's a core infrastructure. It's a core part of our stack. That's part of our go-to-market strategy, right? Especially when we're talking to, say, a DeFi builder or even a DeFi user. They're wondering what's going to be available on Supra. What does the landscape look like? And for liquidity providers and capital allocators, they're going to be wondering what are the yield opportunities and what's going to make Supra an attractive ecosystem for people to say move liquidity from Ethereum, right? So it is a good way to kind of approach it.
I love that. Also, if anybody wants to talk to Vinny about submitting a project, everybody send him a DM on X as soon as possible, and by the masses. There you go, Vinny. Hopefully, you get 1,000 DMs today from projects.
How often do you check your X? How often do you check your X, Vinny?
Yeah, I'm on it every day. You know, I think it's a great source of news. You got to stay plugged in.
Got to.
Right, all the current events.
All right, well, your DM's about to blow up, bro.
Nice.
Yeah, there's only like 8,000 people that watch this a week, so hopefully 6,000 of them send you an email or a message on X. Well, sweet. So talking about other announcements, last week we did announce Supra's Threshold AI oracles. And the kind of the pitch that they were saying, this opens up a whole new possibilities, right? So Supra's Threshold AI oracles introduced a new, recent white paper, enabled developers to build groundbreaking dApps, anonymous DAOs, prediction markets, real-world event-triggered dApps, in gaming / NFT platforms by embedding AI-driven, cryptographically verified insights on chain. Obviously, this is above my knowledge. I'm not a developer, but I also love hearing how the developers within our community, we have a developer like section. There's a dev general chat, a devrel chat within our Discord. If you are a new or old developer, please get in there. There's a lot of helpful information and people that get in there. But the use case that I see people talking about on a daily basis, even talking about just AI in general, but especially AI oracles, gets me really interested. And I'm not a developer, so I can only imagine like what the possibilities are opening up with these kind of things rolling out. But moving on, Supra's AI oracles support complex, context-aware reasoning for tasks like market sentiment analysis or regulatory compliance, ensuring trustless, secure, and real-time operations on Supra. Products leveraging this technology can dynamically adapt to real-world conditions, enhancing efficiency and transparency across finance, governance, and gaming ecosystems. So, Vinny, kind of going back to what I was touching on, do you know of any builders keen on utilizing our Threshold AI oracles, or at least extremely interested on or building something using this? And what kind of dApps would they want to build using this kind of technology?
Yeah, so to be honest, I haven't been touching on that particular AI threshold yet with our builders. We just started exploring this, and I think once we have the prototype demo, which is going to be public facing very soon, I think that's when we're going to be able to dig in a lot deeper on how it's going to be implemented and find key builders that can build out the various use cases, right? I think you mentioned some of them already, the prediction markets. Personally, I think this has a lot of value for building the foundation of AI and automation-driven DeFi on Supra. Say, someone, say AI threshold oracles might query the crypto or the Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever asset sentiment, or meme coins every, 6 hours. And based on that analysis, that sentiment analysis can trigger some kind of on-chain action like buying or selling or rebalancing. So I think that might be a very good use case that kind of fits into what we're working on here on Supra on the AutoFi.
One of the things I get requested the most on a daily basis is a prediction game on Supra. And I'm like, is that really something that like people like to play? And so on other blockchains, I mean, I know this is a thing, like it's called like Beat the Dev or Rug the Dev, I think is one of the ones that's called this. But essentially, it's just a price prediction game, and it's not based on anything. It's just a random chart, and you pick when to sell or when to buy, essentially. And then you either lose money or you make money at the end of this. But they from the last time I checked, they're doing like $6 million in transactions a day, and it's like off of that. That's crazy to me. I guess maybe I'm not in the in for price prediction games, but I guess that's a driver for markets these days for transactions.
We need to secretly build our own. That's
I'm gonna yeah, exactly. Exactly. If y'all see a price prediction game come out, It's not me. It's not us.
Yeah, people gonna be screen recording this very sub. Chase. Get you in deep trouble, brother. You're cooked, bro. You are cooked. My cat wants to say hi, by the way. First time appearance on episode 21. Her name is Smokey, and if my camera is bouncing all over the place, it's her fault.
No, she looks happy and healthy. Drex, you can see him. Y'all see him, I think, every week. He just sleeps. I think people think that's a fake dog. Sleeps. I think they think it's a fake dog. I'm not lying. He doesn't move.
You got any pets, Vinny, or are you at an Airbnb?
No, I don't have any pets. I'm just home right now. But if I were to have a pet, I think a cat would be easiest. You know, I got a lot of cat videos on my algorithms for some reason. So, and I think they're quite easy, right? So
they're easier than dogs, that's for sure.
I don't know, man. Look, I don't have a dog, but let's not get sidetracked. But I'll DM you, give you some of my thoughts regarding cats. Also, really curious about your algorithm, by the way. I'm glad it's cats and not other things, though. I'd hate to see what Chase's algorithm is. My all right, Vinny, dude, thanks for giving us your insights there on Threshold, AI oracles, and of course what's going on with PoEL. Now let's get into a little bit more about you, sir. Want to explore the Supra ecosystem, get your insights there, but first, would you mind just telling us a little about how you got into Web3? What were you doing before you went full-time into crypto?
Yeah, so actually, before Web3, I was working in the hospital. I was a registered nurse for almost 8 years. I worked in the ICU and interventional radiology. So, yeah. So Web3 was a career change for me as to how I got in. Heard about crypto and Ethereum in 2017 during the boom, but it wasn't until a few years later that I really got involved. So I had a friend working at a Web3 startup. API3 is also an Oracle provider, and I ended up joining the team in a BD role. And so my entry into Web3 was actually through a DAO, because API3 was a DAO. And it was my first exposure to things like decentralized governance, community-driven decision-making, and it completely changed how I thought about just organizational design and incentive structures. And from there, I joined Supra.
Wow, man. So Supra, your second venture into full-time Web3, but I mean, that's incredible. Like full-on ER guy right here with us. I mean, there's probably so many stories there. That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories, and I've seen a lot of stuff. And, you know, sometimes when I get stressed out or someone else is stressed out, I'm just talking to myself and saying, you know, nobody's going to die. So that helps a lot.
Quite literally, nobody will die. Well, I mean, you know, figuratively speaking and theoretically, but I guess being a nurse, happens more than
besides the dudes on pump.fun who like, you know, pull out guns and stuff. Like, I mean,
good Lord. Yeah. Sketchy guy. Moving on.
It's true.
It is true.
Moving on.
It is true. So Vinny, how long have you been at Supra? I know I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary, and you were here when I got here. And out of curiosity, was your mandate always to oversee and help grow the Supra ecosystem, or where did you see yourself like when you first got here?
Yeah, so when I first joined, I was hired actually to help our Oracle go to market. So Supra, we went to market as an Oracle provider. And I joined within the BD team to kind of help map out what that pipeline looks like as far as integrations, onboarding builders, and then relaying feedback to the internal product team on the feedback from the builders. So from there, just continued into the BD vertical and ecosystem, and of course, we are now layer one and really focused on growing the layer one ecosystem. Of course, oracles are still very important, and when we work with builders, it's not just getting them in, but of course we have to help them go to market. We have to help them succeed within the ecosystem, and we continually try to tie them into the new parts of the tech stack. and the various existing parts of the tech stack. And that's why we call it the super dApps, and running various campaigns to help them succeed.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Well, I'm happy you're here. It's been a blast working with you. We've met in person twice, Salt Lake City and then ETH Denver in March, and you'll be in Brooklyn as well. I'll be in Brooklyn as well, so I'm excited to see my boy Vinny. But this is where I have to dip. Thank you for having me, guys. I have a belt ceremony at my BJJ school that I got to get to, but I love y'all. Thank you so much for having me, Vinny. Thank you so much for hanging out with James. I know you would much rather hang out with me, but life happens, and I've got to get out of here. James, I love you so much.
Just go. Just go. Chase, thank you, bro. Vinny, you're stuck with me now for the next half hour. Dude, so I'm curious, man. I mean, 2017 was, of course, the big boom. Like, if we think of all the cycles that we've had, I think very little compares to what we saw in 2017. I think Bitcoin went from like $3,000, obviously, right the way up to $20,000. So obviously you've seen a lot. You would have seen Ethereum really establish itself, the Polkadot ICO back then. I'm curious, man. So your experience going back to 2017, then getting involved into crypto full time, in your opinion, what kind of strategy is required to grow an ecosystem that is going to compete with ecosystems like Sui, Aptos, Polkadot, Solana, and eventually Ethereum?
Yeah, so I think it heavily, for what we're building, kind of depends on the tech, the R&D, right? And that's what I think really has staying power, right? Beyond the hype, because you mentioned cycles, and 2017, there are very few projects that are still around and are still like relevant, at least, right? So I think what we're building here is going to be very long lasting, and it's going to be game changing. And I think it's just about building it, shipping it, and getting adoption, recruiting builders, spreading the word, and really showing kind of the Web3 world what's possible here. Some of the new primitives that we're building. So I really think it comes down to the R&D, and we have a great R&D team here. We're very fortunate.
I'm curious about what your thoughts are on conversion. Like, it's got to be difficult to convert someone who's already been building in Solana or building in Ethereum to now try an entirely new L1. Having said that, I have heard from people who've competed on our hackathons, etc., that working within the Supra ecosystem, and especially with our Move VM, that it's incredibly intuitive. But is it easier to just bring in noobs, sort of university graduates who haven't experimented yet, straight into the Supra ecosystem? Or is it easier to convert people from an Ethereum, from a Solana, onto Supra? And what do you target when you are networking and building relationships?
I would say it's definitely the latter. People that are experienced builders in other ecosystems, right? When you understand computer science, when you code, right? You understand the concepts. So even if you were to move to a new ecosystem, you basically just have to learn the new tech stack or the new language. And nowadays, I think it's easier than ever with tools like ChatGPT. And of course, we try to make our docs as good as possible. And we have DevRel supporting every step of the way. But I think it's definitely a great strategy to target existing builders that have a track record, right, of building something on other ecosystems. We've noticed that they can ship much quicker. They kind of have a playbook that they can bring over. So I think that's fair quality. As far as early builders, of course, we welcome them. I think most of the newer builders would probably start with EVM and Ethereum, just because there's just a ton more tooling, and I do think Solidity is much closer to like JavaScript, something that people in Web 2 are very familiar with, and Move is more based on Rust. So it is, I think, a little bit more of a learning curve, but I think with the growth of like Aptos and Sui and the Move ecosystem, I think that's also becoming a lot more popular.
Now, I know that I'm going off script here, and you'll have to forgive me. This is probably because Chase is gone. Now I can just run with it. So forgive me for this question, but again, curiosity is really getting the better of me here. You are VP of ecosystem. You have a huge amount of clientele, potential dApp builders that you're working with and have relationship with. What does an average day look like for you? How many meetings per day? And do you find it ever like, wow, this is actually a lot? I mean, as a nurse, you were going from emergency to emergency. Here, it's meeting after meeting after meeting. It's quite a change in career. How do you find that that pace, and how do you keep up with it?
Yeah, I love it. I love staying busy, and I think we all need to have some, at least like low level of stress, something to look forward to, and that's what drives us and prevents us from getting stagnant. So I love it. Day to day, I mean, it can vary, but certainly can be a lot of meetings, internally and externally, exploration calls, follow up calls, regular scheduled calls with onboarded ecosystem dApps, and I think, BD and ecosystem can kind of also be a catch-all, right? You might be filtering through a lot of different type of inquiries, a lot of different types of Telegram messages, right? From like the very early stage to like, hey, what's the timeline to say, hey, we're stuck on this tech that needs to be enabled, right? So it's certainly very dynamic, but I think it's really really have the opportunity to speak to internal and external technical teams. And I feel like the feedback and what I'm seeing from the market and the ecosystem and the builders out there, I can really help relay that internally to our product, to our founders, to our vision, and really inform what's really going on.
Next off script question. This is going to be my last one, I promise, for the next 10 minutes or so. Dude, I am curious about your advice for those entering BD. It feels like BD is one of the more popular roles in Web3. It's an important, incredibly important role in BD. People like me in marketing, we're fearing AI because you have AI podcasters now, you have AI video, you have AI voiceovers, you have AI writers. It's easy for us to be replaced, but BD, it's a lot harder. So there's going to be a lot more, I think, in person and real person hires. What advice would you give people coming into Web3 right now who are entering a BD role?
Yeah, so I think BD and marketing are great entry points for someone looking to enter into BD, right? Unless you are already a software engineer or a product manager, and maybe you're joining on the technical side of things. But I think BD and marketing are definitely great entry points. And what advice I would say is, ideally you want to be hungry, but also have experience, right? So hungry, you want to be curious. When you do BD, you're not just shilling or pitching. You really have to understand the market, understand your audience, tailor your message. And you kind of get there by asking a lot of questions, right? And then you're learning about different protocols, about different narratives, obviously staying plugged into the current events, whether it's listening to talks at the conferences or following the latest news on Twitter. But overall, it's a lot more staying up to date and learning about the industry, right? And staying relevant, and that can really help inform and tailor your message to the audience. So I think that's very underrated, and I think that's very important. The second thing is really just follow through and having the resilience, right? It's when we think about building an ecosystem, it's not just like sourcing a lead and then telling them, hey, these are our website, these are our docs, try it out. It's like it takes a lot of follow up. It takes a lot of stamina, right? And where you get people that really truly want to be in your ecosystem is being able to provide that support and work with them closely, right? Because there's a lot of ecosystems that maybe after a certain point they just don't really have the bandwidth to cater closely to their builders, right? And we see that a lot with some of like the more mature ecosystems, right? It's very hard to be a new builder there unless you already have the inside connection or you've already done something big, right? And for Supra, we have teams and we welcome people from all different kinds of levels. And I think BD is not just BD, it's not just sales, it's really BD, ecosystem, and customer success.
Yeah. So it's I like that. I've actually got a ex-user here who's actually said BD roll at Supra soon. So you may find a DM from Max DeFi Katos. BD roll at Supra soon. So look out for that DM, bro. All right, Vinny, back to the script here. I'm really keen to hear about what you're most excited about that is coming to the Supra ecosystem short term. So next couple of months, what are you most excited about coming to the Supra ecosystem?
Yeah, so you're going to see a lot of announcements coming out. I think we have an announcement coming out about the PoEL going on public facing testnet. But in the short term, next several months, I think we're just going to see a lot more of our tech stack, our infrastructure and our tech stack in the next weeks and months. So PoEL is going to be integrated into our native bridge, SuperNova, which is also working towards Mainnet. Their system level native automation, which is also close to Mainnet. And then we'll also have a super bridge version of USDC soon as well. And that will be the main stable coin on our ecosystem. So people will be able to bridge, say, USDC from Ethereum and bring it over to Supra, and dApps will be able to use that as the main stable coin. So I think these are going to be major catalysts for DeFi. And we'll also have campaigns coming up. We'll have Project Blastoff Season 2 launching in several weeks, where we'll actually feature ecosystem projects in our mission. Season 1 was focused just on Supra and learning about Supra and farming the airdrop there. But in Season 2, it'll be a great way to explore the ecosystem, learn about the ecosystem, and farm points for future airdrops from teams that are going to be launching tokens. So very excited for that as well.
Dude, what do you foresee the Supra ecosystem looking like in 12 months' time?
Yeah, in 12 months, I think we'll have our key ecosystem dApps and teams fully launched and operating. So we plan to have a full DeFi suite, right? We will have our DEXs, your CLMMs, your balancer style, your regular AMMs, and then really good cross-chain intent-based DEX aggregator, some money markets, perp DEX, central limit order book, and LST. So really focusing on building out that entire DeFi suite. And that's going to enable us to have a very attractive yield landscape, right? And a variety of DeFi strategies and markets for popular assets that are going to be supported through our bridge and PoEL. So people are going to be able to run strategies like Supra and a Supra LST looping, leverage looping, correlated asset liquidity pools, so you don't suffer a permanent loss, being able to profit from liquidations, yield optimizing, maybe finding, borrowing one asset at a low interest rate and being able to find another venue for that different lending protocol that might have a higher yield to supply that. So that's what I'm very excited about. And I think it's really going to be a catalyst for our ecosystem. And then by then, later during the year, I think we should have our Supra EVM on Mainnet. We're on private testnet right now with some early teams building. So a lot to look forward to.
Quick touch on SuperNova for us. Maybe a short rundown. Obviously, we announced that in a press release a couple of weeks ago. But is SuperNova something that builders are finding interesting?
Yeah, I think it's a crucial piece of the tech stack for an L1. So we've been in mainnet alpha, right? And once we release our SuperNova bridge, our canonical bridge on mainnet, that'll be like, hey, this is we can now have liquidity bridged over from Ethereum to Supra, and then support other EVM chains, and then expand to Aptos, Sui, Solana. And I think what's most interesting for dApps, DeFi, and builders, but also liquidity providers, yield farmers, is that PoEL is going to be implemented in SuperNova. SuperNova is going to be the cross-chain messaging in the back end used to relay the message with like a lock and mint, burn and unlock functionality for deposits and redemptions coming through PoEL.
Just a quick mention on SuperNova, already on testnet. I think it's really exciting to see there have already been 30,000. Yep, 30,000 transactions on testnet. So just a big shout out to all the users that are watching this right now that have been spamming the testnet. They've been stressing it. Keep going. 30,000 is amazing, but we need more. Keep pushing, keep working on spamming the network. Utilize SuperNova as much as you can, because it's pretty awesome to see how much activity there's been. I also have a quick shout out to Who on X. He asks for the community, please let us create AutoFi trading agents like virtuals. Who do want to mention to you, sir? We are working on that. Obviously, the tech required to build out those agents requires a fair bit of back-end engineering. The team behind OpenBlocks.ai are working on that as hard as possible. Obviously, we had Braden Abick 2 weeks ago, and he's spearheading that. So as soon as it's available, trust me, we'll announce it. You'll be able to get utilizing. Vinny, dude, you have Permissionless coming up. You and Chase obviously spoke about being in Brooklyn, NYC. What are your plans as VP of Ecosystem for Permissionless? How do you approach such a big conference?
Yeah, so Permissionless is definitely a very big event for us in just coming up in about a month. And we'll have a presence at the hackathon. We're sponsoring some bounties at the conference, and also we have a side event. So for me, I expect to meet and speak to a lot of high quality builders coming out of that. Also, of course, spending some face time with partners and speaking with some capital allocators, potential liquidity providers for our upcoming DeFi ecosystem. And I think FaceTime is very important to build relationships and that continuity, those multiple touch points, right, to build that trust. And overall, I just think it's great to stay plugged in and look for the signal.
I like that. Quick run off to the comments again. Khalif Crypto asks, am interested to use your testnet. How do users like that get involved?
Yeah, I would say just join our Discord, and depending whether you're looking to use as maybe like a retail user or someone that's looking to maybe explore what's possible, say in PBO, or if you're a builder, we can certainly talk with you.
Awesome. Now, why is Permissionless such a big event for Supra? We obviously internally we get to see how much focus we put onto an event like Permissionless. It is identified by the Supra team as a primary annual event for us. I'd love to know from your side why that is. What makes Permissionless so important to a project like Supra?
Yeah, so we actually sponsored Permissionless last year in Salt Lake City, and we thought, we got great value out of it. And certainly Permissionless and Blockworks have a strong brand. This is going to be Permissionless number 4. And I think it's going to be a good mix of developers, Web3 builders, and institutional. So I think it's going to be a great mix, particularly because it's going to be in New York City, Brooklyn. And in my opinion, that's the biggest Web3 hub. And so it's going to be very strategic for us to have a presence there. It also really coincides with the timing of our upcoming tech stack, some of the things we mentioned, and our emerging DeFi ecosystem. As I mentioned, some of the potential catalysts and infrastructure things, we were excited about. And Josh is going to be giving a keynote at the conference, and we'll have an official permissionless kickoff party, and then also sponsoring the hackathon with bounties really related to our narrative of AutoFi, DFAI, automation-driven DeFi. So yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, makes sense, especially after Salt Lake City last year. We're running out of time here, but you mentioned something there that I'd love to touch on. You said that Brooklyn is actually a Web3 hub, and a really important Web3 hub in the States. Would you say more so than the likes of the Valley, the Bay Area where you are now, or Miami? Miami has been identified as a really big hotspot for Web3. Would you say that Brooklyn is as important, if not more so?
I would say New York City for sure. And we're actually seeing and hearing about a lot of people moving there, especially with the new administration and a very, much more crypto friendly, and we're seeing a lot of positive regulation around stable coins. And I think the big play here is financial services and TradFi are really getting involved, right? We're no longer going to exist in parallel. We're going to see a big convergence there, right? With payment rails coming on chain, right? So we're seeing a number of protocols, bridges, stablecoin, RWAs, really focusing on those verticals. So I think it's a number one place probably in the world right now if you're looking for access to capital, access to banking, access to financial services, but also really strong builder community and DeFi, of course.
I've actually never really thought about that. Like, that makes perfect sense as to why New York City is such an important hub for Web3, because in essence, it really is. It's the global center of world markets. You have the New York Stock Exchange, you have the NASDAQ based there. And if there is going to be this convergence between traditional finance and Web3, it makes sense that New York is actually the capital of that convergence.
Absolutely, well, 100%, and yeah, we're potentially looking to build more of a presence there as ourselves.
Okay, so Vinny, we got about 8 minutes left. Just a quick reminder to all of our viewers: you can ask a question to Vinny if you have one for him. We have taken a couple already, but if you want to ask Vinny a question, our VP of Ecosystem, we got to do is reply to the live stream. So make sure you open up the live stream on X, reply there, and we will run through a couple of the best questions. But Vinny, now we're going to put you in the hot seat, sir. So a couple of questions that we ask every week to our guests. Would love to know some of these stories, get to know a little bit more about you. And we start with the worst crypto horror story. Now, it could be a story that someone's told you. It doesn't have to be yours, but obviously if it is your story, then it's a lot more relatable and a lot more fun. But what is your worst crypto horror story?
So fortunately, I haven't had any personal horror stories, knock on wood. But of course, there's always that, hearing about or reading on Reddit or X that someone interacting with DeFi gets strained. Maybe they interacted with a malicious contract. Maybe it somehow exposed their private keys. And then I think the latest one was actually happened in New York City, where I think an influential crypto influencer had kidnapped and tortured an investor from Italy. I don't know if you guys saw that story. This was like literally last week.
Wow!
And this was happening in a New York City apartment that was being rented for like $75,000 a month. So I'm surprised it wasn't more over X.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely made like, your traditional web outlets in like your traditional, like just media outlets and it's crazy. So, yeah, I think
Well,
that's That's the
Be
that's the
safe.
horror story
Be
if there
safe, sir.
ever was one. Yeah.
Be safe in NYC, sir. Speaking of bad stories, if crypto had to crash, wipe out completely, I don't know, quantum computing takes it all out tomorrow, what's your plan B career move?
Probably be at McDonald's flipping burgers. I'm just kidding. That's a meme, of course. Well, let's be honest. Crypto's not going anywhere, and that's just obviously that's my opinion. But I think that'd be the perfect time to double down and build when the hype dies down. So do the distractions. There's fewer charlatans. There's less noise, and can really focus on solving the real problems.
That's a very diplomatic answer. Well done. One person in crypto you'd love to have dinner with, and once you've sat down with them, you've exchanged pleasantries, what's the first question you ask them?
Yeah, I would say it's going to be Vitalik, and I'd ask like, what's a belief you've had about crypto and blockchain, say a few years ago, and since then you've changed your mind on. So would really be curious to pick his brain, because this narratives and tech just move at lightning speed in this industry. And then from there, like, what's the North Star from Ethereum? We've just seen Ethereum go through all these different narratives, right? Explore product market fit in a different variety of verticals, right? Is it going to be the next digital gold? Is it going to be money? Is it NFTs? Is it going to be an ICO platform? Is it going to be liquid staking? So Ethereum's gone through a lot of different narratives, and would like to really see the North Star for Ethereum and what the big plans are. Danny
Boy NZ says, great answer. I agree with him, actually. That's the first time someone said Vitalik with regards to that question. Vinny, you are clearly a forward thinker. You're a visionary. What do we need in crypto that we don't have today?
Yeah, so I think we need real abstractions that can just hide complexity without sacrificing the trustlessness. So Web3 UX today, I think, is still far too fragmented. You're managing wallets, bridging between chains. You need different gas tokens, and it's just a mess for the average user. DeFi is a perfect example. It's powerful, but it's time-consuming and intimidating. So I think to onboard serious capital, whether it be retail or institutional, we need seamless, low-friction experiences that still preserve that self-custody and decentralization. So ultimately, I think we need to continue to simplify and democratize access to this programmable finance. And that's what's going to really onboard the next wave of capital and unlock mass adoption.
I agree with Khalif Crypto, who's just tweeted right now. Wow, these are great answers. So, dude, you're killing it, man. All right, last hot seat question. This is a tough one. I don't have my phone on me because it's actually my camera. If you had to explain Web3 to your grandma in 10 seconds, how would you do it? I'm going to time you. I'm going to pull up a timer real quick. So let's see if, here we go. I'm going to pull up a timer. So you got a couple of extra seconds here as I pull this up. I'm going to give you 12 seconds. Explain for us Web3 to your grandma in 10 seconds. How would you do it? Are you ready, sir?
Yeah, so I think simply put, it's going to be the next iteration of the internet, right? Web 1 was the internet. Web 2 is like, your Amazon Alexas, your Internet of Things, your smart devices. And Web 3 is the centralized internet where you have complete control of things you use, your money, your data, your identity, as opposed to your big companies. So I don't know if I went over there, but I tried to.
Did you hear the beep? Did you hear the beep?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, I got a little timer. It did beep out, but I mean, bro, you had answered it in the first 5 seconds. The next iteration of the internet. That's all you needed to know. So yeah, that was great answer. Vinny, dude, thank you so much, man. Gonna take a couple of user questions. So if you guys do have some, happy to take them. Peter, I just want to answer you. Can I have the link to buy Supra? Dude, it's real simple. If you want to buy it from a centralized exchange, Bybit is where you can find us. Coin DCX, which is based in India as well. And then it's Gate, right? Is it Gate.io? Qcoin. It's Qcoin, right, Vinny? Mexi. No, it's Mexi, Gate.io. So Mexi, Gate.io. You can also get it at Bybit and CoinDCX. That is where you can buy Supra. All right, next question for you, Vinny. The Red Supranaut, a big community member of the Supra audience, he wants to know, what are you planning to get out of Permissionless?
Yeah, really looking forward to help evangelize, our upcoming tech stack, right? I think we're going to have some big announcements and marketing pushes there, just about PoEL, about SuperNova, about automation, PoEL. We have some things potentially going to Mainnet by then. And so I'm really going to be focused on DeFi, and that's going to be connecting with our key ecosystem dApps that are building. Some of these teams are actually in New York City. And then, of course, talking to capital allocators and liquidity providers, because that's the other side, right? To have a strong DeFi ecosystem, we need to have the liquidity there. So those two things are some of the main things I'm looking forward to.
Nice, man. Okay, so going through a couple of the questions here. Do you think Supra, this is from Haim Martin Dude, do you think Supra will have a phone ever?
Yeah, it's confidential, so I can't speak upon that, and unfortunately.
Well, I mean, if you're not saying no, that opens a lot of doors, bro. That opens a lot of doors. Okay, so fine. Let's see here. What do we have? All right. So I'm going to go with the final question here. We're over time. From who? I'm going to try and interpret his question. If you can help me, what do you think about creating a launch pad for custom AI agents for self-trading using Supra's AutoFi and Oracles and X posting, similar to virtuals? So in essence, I think he's asking, will Supra be able to provide a platform where we can create our own AI agents for self-trading?
Yeah, so well, first of all, I think that's a great idea, and we don't have like an official launch pad for that yet, but we've definitely talked to some teams in the early stages that want to bring that to Supra. So I think I would say yes, definitely we welcome that, and as we have more of our tech stack ready, that's going to be much easier, and we'll start to see platforms like virtuals coming over the Supra as well, and being able to take advantage of the DeFi ecosystem, right? So everything hinges upon the emergence of the DeFi ecosystem, and once we have this, we're going to be able to have these AI agents using automation, writing strategies to be able to interact with the ecosystem.
You and I were both at Korea Blockchain Week last year, where Braden Abick was there as well. Of course, his company BlockPool was acquired by Supra, now OpenBlocks.ai. Have you interacted much with Braden since then, since the acquisition? And have you seen any of what they're building?
Yeah, so I think that was a very strategic acquisition for us. It's going to enable us to do a lot with the data indexed on Supra, but also from other chains, right? So I think it's going to be really come in handy for builders that need that data, and also be used internally for our AutoFi product, where it's our AI interface to be able to AR interface where people can use semantic, natural language processing to be able to perform actions in DeFi, right? Like you can tell AutoFi, hey, when Bitcoin hits a new high, say 120K, and it stays there for, say, X amount of days, that's when it's probably going to be, maybe you think it's going to be alt season, start rebalancing to alt or something, right? So I think that a lot of the data that's going to be provided by OpenBlocks is going to come very, very handy for things like that.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been an hour on the dot. Literally, as I say that, we've crossed the hour mark. Vinny, dude, thank you so much. I know how busy you are. I mean, whenever you and I try and schedule a meeting, I see your calendar. It is chock-a-block. So thank you for making the time for us, man. Dude, any final comments for the audience?
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on, and looking forward to connecting, whether it be on Discord, Telegram, or in person at Permissionless.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Vinny Chen, the VP of Ecosystem at Supra. This has been another show. It's episode 21 of The Sup, and we'll catch you guys next week, same time, same place. Join us then. Make sure that you are following Vinny on X. It's real simple. Jock in VC. Vinny, thanks again. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Thanks, James.